So, guys, here's the situation. We all know that Charles Oliveira was supposed to face Rafael Fiziev next month. That was the fight on the book. People were hyped for it, and stylistically, it made a lot of sense. Classic striker versus pressure grappler matchup. But things took a thing to the worst. Fiziev had to pull out, apparently due to an injury. I don't know if the UFC fully was cleared on it, what exactly the injury was. Some people say it was undisclosed, others are speculating. If you guys know for sure, drop it down in the comments down below. But either way, Fiziev is out, which leaves a big hole in the card. Now, the UFC, as they usually do, started throwing offers around. Hey, do you want to step in? And it sounded like a lot of these offers didn't land. Fighters either weren't ready, didn't like the matchup, or maybe the money wasn't right. But here's the one guy who's been waving his hand high on social media, especially on X, Gamrot. And here's the thing, a lot of fans feel like Charles is low-key dodging Gamrot because, let's be real, if anyone deserves that slot, it's him. And I know, he's not exactly the fan favorite of the division. His style isn't flashy like a Justin Gaethje, and he doesn't have the highlight reel knockout power people drool over, the casual fans. But come on, man. The guy is a legit top-ranked contender. He's been in there with the Arman Saryukians, with the Beneil Dariush, with the Jalen Turners. He's proven that he can hang with the best. And the truth is, stylistically, he's actually very interesting puzzle for Charles Oliveira. Now, think about it. You've got Gamrot, who's a relentless chain wrestler. His scramble, his pressure, his ability to shoot 10 takedowns if he needs to. That's his bread and butter. And then you got Charles, who's one of the most dangerous jiu-jitsu fighters we've ever seen in MMA. Submissions off his back, front chokes, sweeps. This dude makes chaos look like freaking art, man. That clash alone makes this fight worth talking about. But here's where my concerns kick in, okay? With Fiziev, yeah, Charles had to worry about the big shots, about getting caught in the firefight. That's always a risk. But Charles has proven he can walk through the fire before. With Gamrot, though, it's a bit different. I don't necessarily see him knocking Charles out, but I do see a scenario where he drags Charles into a grind and keeps him on the mat, making him burn energy and racking up control time. That's how you beat Oliveira without beating him up. You just smother him. And Gamrot is one of those few guys in the division who can realistically do that. And yeah, I've seen some people even put Diego Lopez, name in the hat. We all saw that tweet from Diego Lopez saying that he is willing to step in and fight Charles if he needs to. Now listen, that would be a badass fight. No doubt about it. But personally, style and energy, you already know where Lopez is built for. He's built for freaking chaos. If this dude fights Charles, honestly, I think Lopez could put him out. Straight up knockout. But here's the thing. It'd be a featherweight moving up. That's why it's exciting. That's why it feels wild. But at the same time, it doesn't really fix what's wrong with the lightweight division right now. Because if we're going to be honest, the division has been kind of stuck. We need movement. We need actual lightweight matchups right now. Right now, you've got Toporia's chilling. Patty's not booked. Arman's on the sidelines. Hooker has not been fighting. Like, where's the activity in this weight class, okay? That's what makes this Gamrot versus Charles talk so important in my eyes. It's not just about Charles defending the spot. It's about keeping the division moving. So yeah, the Diego fight would be fireworks. It would be awesome. I would get a beer on that day. Level kind of fun, But the real answer the division needs is something like Charles Oliveira versus Gamrot. Something that gets the lightweight rankings shaking again. And I'll be real with you guys. I'm a little bit nervous for Charles. He's not a young prospect anymore. He's got a lot of miles on him. Years of wars, knockdowns, submissions, title fights, all those added up. It's like a car that's been driven across the country a few too many times, You can swap the tires out, you can fix the engine, but eventually the wear and tear is still there. Charles has reinvented himself beautifully over the last few years, but we can't pretend that he's ageless. So, if this fight actually does come together, which I have my doubts because Charles has been open about dodging this fight. But if it somehow happens, it's not an easy night for Charles at all. In fact, in some ways, I'm more worried about this than the fight with Fiziev. Like, don't get me wrong, Fiziev could have knocked him out for sure. But there was always a chance that Charles can live through the storm, get a late submission. But with Gamrot, he might not hurt Charles badly, but he has the tools to drag him into deep water and just hand him another loss. And that's the brutal part of the sport. Even the legends we love, the guys we've seen risen to the top, eventually hit the point where the younger, fresher contenders come in with the right game plan and steal the shine. Like, don't get me wrong, I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see Charles pull off another vintage moment, but man, if Gamrot's in there, this fight feels like the one he's dodging for a reason. And when you break it down, you can kind of see why Charles might be hesitant here. His best performance have always come against guys willing to meet him in the chaos. Dustin Poirier, Chandler, Justin Gaethje, those are the firefights where Charles gets drops, he bites down, and then he finds the finish somehow. That's his wheelhouse. Gamrot doesn't give you that. He's not going to trade hooks open, he's not going to trade hooks and open himself up. He's going to shoot, scramble, and if you defend, he's going to shoot again. He averages almost 5 takedowns per round in the UFC. He doesn't even need all of them to stick. He just forces you to work consistently. And for Charles, dude, that's a nightmare. He's dangerous off his back, sure, but we've seen guys with top pressure give him some issues. Islam showed it at the highest level, and even Paul Felder years ago showed that you can smother him if you don't panic. That's always been the blueprint against him. Stay heavy, land some ground and pound, and don't give him space or chaos. He needs to start chaining submissions together. I mean, Arman Tsarukyan kind of showed that. Yes, Arman did almost get caught in some submissions, but did he ultimately tap out? No, and I think Gamrot is in that same category. If Arman can give Charles Oliveira problems with his wrestling and pressure, then Gamrot could very realistically do the same. That's why fans are saying that this fight feels like he's dodging it. Not because Charles is scared necessarily. Nobody who fought killers for over a decade is scared, but because he knows the risk to reward ratio here doesn't add up. Gamrot isn't some massive name, He doesn't bring that same kind of star power like a Justin Gaethje does or Max Holloway, but he's got the exact style that can make Charles look human, even make him look old. It's almost like Charles is stuck between a rock and a hard place matchup. With a big name striker he could thrive against, or hand him a grinder like Gamrot who threatens to take away the chaos he needs to shine. And here's the thing, man. When you really look at Charles' last couple of fights, you can kind of see why Gamrot is such a problem for him. Like, sometimes Charles just doesn't dictate the pace. Take the Arman fight for an example. Arman was the one who was dictating when they wrestled, when they slowed down, when the exchanges happened. Charles had his moments. He almost caught the guillotine, but for the most part, he was reacting instead of leading. And if Gamrot gets that same steering wheel, forget about it. You're playing in his game. Another habit that Charles has, he hangs out on the back too long. Yeah, the guy's guard is legendary, okay? No one's taking that away from him. But at lightweight, against these high-level wrestlers, that's not winning you fights anymore. Islam showed it. Arman showed it. Smothering, stack, stay heavy, don't panic, and suddenly Charles is just burning the clock, while the other guy is just racking control time. Gamrot is built for that. He'll shoot, chain it, shoot again. It doesn't matter if the first attempt fails. He just grinds until something sticks. And the reason he doesn't get caught is because he's wrestling in scrambles, never giving you that static control you need to set a trap. He's positioned first, never reckless, and that's why he's never tapped in his career yet. And let's be real, man. Charles hasn't tapped anyone since the Justin Gaethje fight. That was back in 2022. He's still throwing up threats, but the top guys haven't caught on. They're training for that guard. They're not giving their necks. They're not giving him the back. You saw the Islam fight. You saw the Arman fight. They shut it down. Gamrot fits right into that same mold. He's not going to panic. He's not going to gift Charles an opening. And if anything, he's going to make him work for every bad spot all night. So yeah, when people say that Charles might be dodging Gamrot, it's not fear, it's about the style. Because Gamrot's not going to give him a wild brawl to shine in. He's not Gaethje, like I mentioned earlier. He's not Chandler. He's not that guy who drags you through 15 to 25 minutes of mud. And he's just the guy who will drag you through 15 to 25 minutes of mud. And unless Charles catches lightning in a bottle early, that's a long, ugly night for him. Now, don't get me wrong. Gamrot's wrestling isn't unstoppable, okay? We've seen it. Like Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner, even Benil Dariush got back up. He'll shoot 20 times if he has to, but it's not like everyone stays glued to the mat. His game works because of volume, not because every shot is Dagestani level lockdown. And Charles isn't helpless in those spots either. Go back to the Armin fight. He's gotten multiple submission threats. That guillotine was tight. Even against Islam, he threw triangle chokes and made him respect it, especially with those leg locks. So yeah, Charles is still good off his back. That's always going to be a part of his danger with him. One slip, one lazy posture, and suddenly you're fighting your hands for your life. But here's where it gets all tricky. Charles has the habit of just hanging out on his back too long, like he's content to throw up a couple subs, and if they don't land, he'll just sit there and let the other guy rack up control. Judges don't score you for being dangerous. They score the guy on top. And ever since Gaethje back in 2022, Charles hasn't finished anybody with a submission. Now don't get me wrong, some were tight, but the top guys are surviving. They stay calm. They turn those minutes into rounds, okay? That's why I wouldn't be shocked if Gamrot actually even catches Charles on the feet. He's not a knockout artist, but his striking's underrated. He's got that sneaky left hook. You know, he throws hard counters, and he'll step in with knees when guys expect a level change. Charles has been dropped plenty of times before. Gaethje, Chandler, Poirier, Islam. They all put him on the canvas. If Gamrot times something clean while Charles is coming forward recklessly, yeah, he could surprise people. So, if you ask me, I think Charles should just take the fight. Yes, it's a risk. Gamrot's the kind of guy who can make you look bad even if he doesn't finish you. But that's exactly why it matters. Be a BMF and go, man. Show the division you're still that guy, that you'll fight anybody, anytime. Because if Charles pulls this off, it reminds everybody that he's not just a highlight reel. He's a fucking legend, man, who takes on the toughest stylistic fights. And here's the thing, man. If Charles beats Gamrot, it shuts down all the talk about him dodging wrestlers. No more asterisks. No more he only shines in chaos. It proves that he can handle the grind as well as the war. And honestly, I'd rather see him risk it against Gamrot than getting slept by some striker down the road. But hey, those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.